success in whatever you're going to do in life.
The Tarot, the cards of mystery. Even at a casual glance, they are beautiful and thought-provoking, enigmatic. The pictures seem to strike a resonant chord in us, like a wispy memory from some long-forgotten past. But as you look closer and learn more about them, a pattern emerges, leading you into a deeper understanding of both the cards themselves and the events, people, and life situations they represent. I'm no expert yet, but I have someone here who is, and together we hope to show you enough about how the Tarot works to help get you started. Right, Pamela?
Yes, with a couple of reservations. First, I'm a little reluctant to be called an expert. There are people who have been studying the tarot for a lifetime and are just beginning to understand it. And second, there really isn't time to go over even what I know about the tarot.
But fortunately, getting started isn't really all that hard, is it?
No, it isn't. Even with only a basic understanding of the fundamentals, you can get enough of a reading to be very satisfying for both you and your subject.
So it all starts with the deck, right? And aren't there several kinds of decks?
Well, there are quite a few variations of the basic deck around, but they're really all just versions of the same symbolic pictures. The most commonly used is the Rider Pack, which is what we have laid out here. But really, one deck is as easy to work with as another once you get used to it. But for beginners, it seems that the Rider Pack is the easiest to begin with.
Oh, so where did this deck come from?
Well, in England, in 1910, a writer named Arthur Edward Waite wrote a book called The Pictorial Key to the Tarot and commissioned an artist named Pamela Coleman Smith to do the illustration. It was published by Rider and Company, London, and has been known as the Rider deck ever since.
Pamela, huh? Any relation?
I don't think so, but that would be kind of fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. So how many cards are there in the tarot deck?
78 overall, but there are really two very different groups. The 56 cards in the Minor Arcana and the 22 cards in the Major Arcana. The regular playing card deck we use these days for bridge, poker, and lots of other card games was actually derived from the Minor Arcana. It's divided into 4 different suits: wands, cups, swords, and pentacles, which correspond to clubs, hearts, spades, and diamonds. Each suit has cards numbered from ace through 10, and in the tarot deck there are 4 court cards: the king, queen, knight, and page, representing the spirit, the soul, the ego, and the body. Court cards usually represent a person: a king for a man, a queen for a woman, and a page for either a boy or a girl. But they can also represent opportunities for change. A knight can indicate the arrival or departure of a particular situation. There is some overall pattern to the numbers, too. 5s are almost always bad news. 10s represent the extremes, and so on. But tarot cards are almost never read individually. They take on their full meaning and shading from their position in the layout and their juxtaposition to other cards. That, of course, is the true art of the tarot.
But before you can read them in combination, first you need to know the basics of what each card represents, right?
Right.
Well then, why don't we go through all the cards in the Minor Arcana first, and then move on to the Major Arcana.
Okay. First, I'll give you a general indication of what each suit means, and then go over the specifics of each card. Each of the individual cards has a primary meaning in its normal upright position, and a usually nearly opposite meaning in an upside down or reversed position. I'll give you both as we go along. Notice that the wands are always shown with new leaves growing out of them. This is because they represent the constantly regenerating energy of life. A lot of wands in a layout usually indicates change, but whether that change is for the good or bad will be determined by how they fall in the layout. The Ace of Wands is a hand emerging from a cloud, holding a single wand. It represents the beginning of an enterprise, a creation, even a new birth or the start of a family. In the reversed position, it indicates a false start. The new beginning may not materialize. The Two of Wands shows a man holding a globe in his right hand and a staff in his left. Another staff stands to his right. The primary indication is of recognizable success and dominion in worldly endeavors. In the reversed position, it warns of sadness and domination by others. The Three of Wands has a man standing between two vertical wands and holding a third in his right hand. This is another representation of commercial success or help from a person who has attained it. In the reversed position, it cautions against arrogance, as the success may be fleeting, and urges examination of the help being offered. The Four of Wands shows a garland of flowers strung on four upright wands, with two maidens approaching with even more flowers. This is an indication of the coming of prosperity, achievement, peace, love, and harmony. Even in the reversed position, all these things are indicated, just to a lesser degree. The Five of Wands has 5 young men in combat, using the wands as weapons. This is an indication of a struggle, a quarrel, or even a lawsuit. In the reversed position, it indicates the resolution of a conflict and new opportunities. The Six of Wands shows a mounted man leading a procession of other men brandishing wands. The wreath symbolize a victory, and the indication is of a successful campaign, achievement of a difficult goal. In the reverse position, it warns either of an indefinite delay or anxiety concerning a successful rival. The Seven of Wands pictures a man with a wand defending against 6 others raised against him. It represents individual courage in dealing with competition, opposition, or hardships. In the reverse position, it indicates anxiety or embarrassment and warns against indecision. The Eight of Wands shows a flight of thrown staves on their descending arc. There is an indication of movement, of accelerated pace brought about by improved communication, and a commonality of purpose. The reverse position indicates jealousy and quarreling, which impedes progress. The Nine of Wands shows a determined man holding a staff at ready, with 9 others arranged in an orderly manner behind him. The indication is of strong preparation for dealing with opposition, a firm resolve to defend and stand fast. The reversed position represents obstacles and adversity to be encountered. The Ten of Wands has a man resolutely carrying a heavy load of 10 wands towards his goal. The indication is of perseverance while under a heavy burden, with the problem soon to be resolved. The reversed position bodes of probable failure due to overwhelming difficulties, especially treachery. The Page of Wands is a young man preparing to make a proclamation. Generally, he represents the bearer of good tidings, but this card can also indicate either a male or female child, a faithful lover, or sometimes specifically a blue-eyed blonde young man. When this card is next to another representing a person, it indicates that information favorable to that person is forthcoming. In the reverse position, the Page of Wands bodes unpleasant news or the lack of an awaited decision. The Knight of Wands gallops forth in his suit of fire armor. The general indication is for a dramatic change of location, a departure, an escape, or a change of residence. Representing a person, the Knight of Wands is a fair-haired young man capable of generating rivalry or conflict. In fact, the reversed position indicates just that: interruption, division, discord. The Queen of Wands sits regally on her throne with a sunflower in her left hand, representing her dominion over nature. The person she represents is a friendly, calm, caring, fair-haired person, very in tune with nature. If there is another person card next to her, she is very fond of that person. In the reverse position, deceit, jealousy, or infidelity are indicated, or a strict and self-righteous person. The King of Wands is also seated in splendor. He represents a strong, capable, and honest blond man likely to be living in the country rather than in the city. The general indication is of a good marriage or family heritage. In the reverse position, the person is strict and severe in his judgment. There is a suggestion of a possible quarrel over good advice that should be followed. The Cups generally refer to love and happiness, fertility, knowledge, and beauty. A lot of cups in a layout are a clear signal of good news. The Ace of Cups shows a hand extending from a cloud, offering a cup overflowing with eternally flowing water. The indication is for rich nourishment of a spiritual nature, resulting in abundance in all good things. In the reverse position, it indicates an unnatural emphasis on material things, a reluctance to accept and nurture love and things of the spirit. The Two of Cups depicts a young couple pledging their troth. The usual indication is of the beginning of a loving relationship, but it may also indicate a harmonious relationship between the masculine and feminine aspects of someone's nature. In the reverse position, miscommunications may lead to broken plans or even a parting of the ways. The Three of Cups shows three maidens pledging friendship. This is an indication of a joyous celebration at the successful conclusion of a project or some other matter. The reverse position suggests excessive sensual pleasure and physical enjoyment. In the Four of Cups, the young man ignores the fourth cup being offered him while contemplating the three before him. The indication is of stagnation, discontent, and brooding over one's current status or environment, disregarding the opportunity for improvement. In the reverse position, something new and novel will favorably change the status quo. The solemn figure in the Five of Cups regards the two overturned cups before him with his back to the two upright cups behind him. This represents a pessimistic view of things, an emphasis on what is lost rather than what remains. It can also indicate a rejection of pleasure. The reverse position signifies hope and optimism, a new friendship, or the reestablishment of an old one. The Six of Cups shows a boy offering a cup of flowers to a young girl standing in front of her family home. The representation is of the past and childhood memories, but it may indicate a new beginning. In the reverse position, there is an indication of too much clinging to the past, but there is also the possibility of an inheritance. The Seven of Cups is a display of the many varied visions of the man in the foreground. It suggests that none of his dreams and goals have been fully attained because his energies have not been focused. In the reverse position, a substantial goal is about to be realized due to strong will and determination. In the Eight of Cups, the man is walking away from the stacked cups in the foreground. It indicates an abandonment of a current situation in search of something better. In the reverse position, there is an active enjoyment of what is at hand, especially material things. The Nine of Cups depicts a very satisfied man surrounded by his neatly ordered possessions. This is the wish card, and whenever it shows up, the subject of the reading should make a wish. There is a strong indication of success, victory, and well-being, especially in material things. In the reverse position, it indicates faulty planning and overindulgence. The Ten of Cups shows a family enjoying the radiance of a rainbow of cups. It promises lasting happiness and joy, especially in family, friendly, and loving relationships. In the reverse position, an argument, betrayal, or damaged relationship is indicated. The Page of Cups offers a cup with a rising fish, symbolic of the active imagination. It is a harbinger of something new, especially a new way of doing things. As a person, it represents a bright, thoughtful, creative young man or girl with light brown hair and hazel eyes who is willing to be helpful. In the reverse position, this person may provide a new approach in matters of love. The Page of Cups can also indicate the discovery of some hidden obstacle or treachery. The Knight of Cups rides forth, seriously contemplating the cup he holds. He is a bright young man with light brown hair and romantic dreams, bringing love to the subject. He may also bring an opportunity for personal advancement. In the reverse position, the offer should be examined carefully before accepting it. The Queen of Cups sits studying an ornately decorated cup with a cover indicating that the dreams inside are private and not to be shared. There is a general indication of love,
a good relationship, and clear inner vision. As a person, this is a light brown-haired woman of deep feelings, loving and loyal. She dreams great dreams and acts on them. In the reverse position, she is still a good woman, but may have some character flaws. There is some indication of dishonesty and immorality. The enthroned King of Cups holds a scepter in his left hand and a cup in his right. In general, he represents kindness and liberal generosity. As a person, he is a creative, professional man with light brown hair who regards a subject favorably. In the reverse position, the man is temperamental and unreliable. There is danger of scandal and great loss.
The swords generally represent boldness and courage, the force an individual generates in the quest of his goal. A lot of swords in a layout indicate an ongoing effort.
The Ace of Swords shows a hand emerging from a cloud, strongly gripping a crowned sword. It indicates great strength and power, in love as well as in activity and conquest. In the reverse position, it warns of tyranny, and that an excess of power may actually create obstacles. The Two of Swords shows a blindfolded woman with two swords in her crossed arms. It can indicate either a truce, a balancing of forces, or inactivity brought about by indecision. Reversed, it signifies a breaking of a stalemate in the resulting action, but not necessarily for the good. The Three of Swords shows a heart pierced by three swords against a background of rain clouds. Great sorrow is indicated, possibly caused by the absence or departure of a lover. In the reverse position, it forebodes a dangerous, confusing meeting with someone the subject has wronged. The Four of Swords shows a reclining knight in prayer and meditation. This is not a death omen, but rather an indication of a temporary rest or retreat for convalescence or contemplation. Reversed, it signals the return to activity with some requirement for caution. The Five of Swords shows a man exulting in his defeat of two others. A conquest by physical force is suggested, which may threaten the subject. Reverse, it indicates weakness and coming danger. On the Six of Swords, a boatman propels two docile figures through calm waters. Usually it indicates relief from a difficult situation, but it may also indicate the use of a representative by the subject, or even a trip over water. In the reverse position, it indicates an unfavorable situation from which there is no immediate release in sight. The Seven of Swords shows a man sneaking off with a bundle of 5 swords, leaving 2 behind. It's an indication of an incomplete effort that will either fail or meet with only partial success, possibly an attempt to steal something from the subject. Reversed, it signals good, trustworthy advice or assistance. The Eight of Swords is a bound, blindfolded woman in a cage of swords. It indicates that the subject is trapped in a confining situation, possibly by her own fears. The reverse signals the release from that situation, enabling a new beginning. On the Nine of Swords, a woman sits up in bed in the depths of despair. A debilitating doubt and depression are indicated, possibly caused by the death of a loved one. The reverse position forebodes suspicion, humiliation, and confinement. The Ten of Swords shows a man lying on the ground, pierced by all 10 swords. It represents utter defeat, desolation, possibly at the death of a loved one. In the reverse, it indicates the strength to rise again, to overcome great adversity, but perhaps only temporarily. The Page of Swords shows a young person with sword held at the ready. It signals a readiness to deal with whatever comes along, good or bad. As a person, it is an active, alert boy or girl with dark hair and brown eyes. In the reverse position, it indicates a posturer, someone posing as something they are not. In a more general sense, it indicates a lack of preparation for what may come, possibly an illness. The Knight of Swords comes charging forth with reckless abandon. He represents a strong, capable, dominant male with brown hair and eyes, who may be about to abruptly enter the life of the subject. The indication is for forceful action, but look to the neighboring cards for an indication of whether the results will be good or bad. In the reverse position, self-indulgence and disability are indicated. The person is a braggart. The Queen of Swords sits serious and stern on her throne. The general indication is of sadness and privation, possibly sterility or widowhood. But the person represented is an intelligent, knowing woman of dark hair and brown eyes. In the reverse position, she is a prude. There is an indication of lying and intolerance. The King of Swords is solemn and judgmental. The general indication is the force of authority. The person represented is a brown-haired, brown-eyed man with great power. Reversed, he is ruthless, capable of unjust cruelty. Caution in legal matters is advised.
The suit of pentacles generally pertains to wealth. One of the early forms of coinage were disc-shaped charms inscribed with magical formula to bring wealth and power to its possessor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the meaning carried by the cards. Generally, the more pentacles in a layout, the greater the indication of wealth.
Mm-hmm.
The Ace of Pentacles shows the emerging hand holding a large double-ringed pentacle. It represents great wealth and prosperity, complete fulfillment in material matters. In the reversed position, it warns of corruption of the spirit by an excess of material wealth. The Two of Pentacles shows a man juggling two pentacles connected by a crossed continuous band. It signifies a facility for dealing with a changing situation, despite the resulting difficulties. The reverse represents a pretense of ease, covering the inability to handle conflicting forces. The Three of Pentacles shows two people admiring the work of a craftsman. It represents achievement, excellence, and progress, with attendant recognition. The reverse indicates mediocrity and commonness in thought and deed. The Four of Pentacles shows a crowned man with both arms enfolding one of the four pentacles. It represents a grasping possessiveness, an unwillingness to share either power or material things, which may have been inherited rather than earned. In the reverse position, the threat of an imminent material loss is indicated. The Five of Pentacles shows two down-and-out figures passing by an ornate lighted window. A severe material loss is indicated, unemployment, even homelessness. The reverse position signals new or better employment, status and comforts regained. The Six of Pentacles shows a merchant giving money to the needy. It indicates charity, a sharing of prosperity with others. In the reverse, there is a warning of cheating, greed, and debt troubles. The Seven of Pentacles shows a young farmer resting on a hoe observing his crops. This represents a period of inactivity. Material gains may continue without involving effort, or more energy may be required to get things moving again. The reverse position indicates some justifiable concern over a lack of sufficient gains in proportion to the investment. The Eight of Pentacles depicts a young artisan at work making pentacles. This represents apprenticeship, the beginning efforts in a career or venture, with profitable employment on the way. In the reverse, it warns of early failure due to insincere effort. The Nine of Pentacles shows a well-dressed, confident woman with a hooded falcon on her gloved left hand. She represents material security and a well-ordered life, and may indicate an inheritance or financial support from a wealthy matron. In the reverse position, there is caution against a loss of well-being due to a lack of good character. The Ten of Pentacles shows an established older man on his estate in the company of his family and pets. This is representative of family matters, possibly an inheritance or an investment in property. The reverse indicates a risk to family honor or property. The Page of Pentacles is a young person gazing intently at a pentacle in his hands. He represents scholarship, education, knowledge, and like all pages can be a bearer of news. As a person, he or she is dark-haired and dark-eyed, methodical, and thorough. In the reverse position, he is a maverick thinker, having views very different from his associates. There is an indication of waste, of reckless expenditure on trivial items, and the possibility of bad news. The Knight of Pentacles sits astride a sturdy horse regarding a pentacle. He represents patient, reliable, productive effort, and like all knights, may signal the beginning or end of a situation. He is a materialistic, methodical, dark-haired young man. In the reversed position, he is wasteful and careless. Stagnant inactivity is indicated. The Queen of Pentacles sits on a throne surrounded by nature. She represents material security and generosity. As a person, she is a dark-eyed, dark-haired, earthy, creative woman, intelligent and productive. In the reversed position, she is lazy and untrustworthy. There is an indication of sloth, dependency, and lack of confidence. The King of Pentacles is enthroned in the midst of many symbols of productivity and abundance. He represents courage to act, mathematical skills, and reliability. As a person, he is dark-haired and dark-eyed, respected for his intelligence and solid character. Reversed, he makes improper use of his abilities. Caution is recommended in dealing with speculative ventures and gamblers. The cards of the major arcana have considerably more significance than the cards of the minor arcana, and should be given far more weight when they appear in a layout. They generally tell of the progression of life experiences as we mature into complete, aware, fully realized beings. The Fool is a young man about to step off the edge of a cliff. When this card is present in any layout, it indicates that the subject is about to make a critical choice which will dramatically affect the rest of his life. It is a reminder to carefully consider the choice from all aspects: physical, logical, emotional, and spiritual. In the reversed position, it warns of a poor choice. The Magician directs the eternal forces to earthly applications. He represents the will and ability to utilize wisdom and power, including knowledge of the occult, to accomplish his ends. In the reverse position, he represents indecisiveness or misuse of power for destructive purposes. The High Priestess presides over the intuitive forces of the unconscious. She represents hidden inner forces at work, the creative drive of the artist, the mysterious powers of the psychic. In the reverse position, she indicates shallow surface ideas, empty sensuality, and vanity. The Empress is surrounded by the fertility of nature. She represents the productivity of our female side, the bringing of ideas to fruition and usefulness. Reversed, she indicates inactivity, erosion of resources, even destruction. The Emperor is a solid, forceful figure seated among symbols of power. He represents leadership, intellectual activity, the triumph of reason over passion. In the reverse position, he indicates emotional immaturity, dominance by parents. There is a possibility of injury or household damage. The Hierophant appears in the formal trappings of organized religion. He represents acceptability, alignment with orthodox opinion, and social approval. Reversed, he indicates nonconformity, an eagerness for new ideas, good or bad. There may also be the presence of strong superstition. The Lovers appear as Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. The representation is of both human love on the physical, emotional, and spiritual level, and the inherent power to choose. Reversed, it indicates trouble in a family or love relationship and a wrong choice made. The Chariot, drawn by two sphinxes, contains a powerful, dominant figure. He represents achievement in artistic endeavors, overcoming of financial problems, illness, and opposition, especially if the subject can control his more animal desires. Reversed, it warns against the sudden collapse of a project, possibly due to the unleashing of physical passions. The Strength card shows a woman closing the mouth of a lion. It represents the triumph of things of a higher, spiritual nature over lustful desires and material power. In the reverse, it indicates passions or materialism creating havoc. The Hermit stands on a peak with his staff and lantern. He represents quiet, mature wisdom in the form of helpful advice. Reversed, there is an indication of a childish nature, unwillingness to mature. The Wheel of Fortune is surrounded by a variety of mystical creatures. Its presence in a layout represents a stroke of good fortune, which may continue if reinforced. In the reversed position, it indicates either misfortunes or at best a series of ups and downs. Justice is seated holding the scales of equality and the two-edged sword of action. It represents a balanced personality or situation, legal or formal matters producing a fair and favorable result. Reversed, it indicates injustice, imbalance, possibly legal or contractual complications. The Hanged Man is suspended upside down from a T-shaped cross. It represents a dramatic conversion, abandonment of physical things in favor of the spiritual. It may signal a pause for reflection. In the reverse, it indicates a denial of spiritual things, a complete absorption with the self and material things. Death rides slowly across the field, carrying the banner of new life. The representation is of the death of the old and the birth of the new, signaling a dramatic change. But if it is reinforced, it can signify a physical death. Reversed, it indicates inertia, an inability to move. On the Temperance card, an angel pours the water of life from a silver cup into a golden one. The representation is harmonious, cooperative efforts, and good management. The reverse position indicates discord brought on by competing interests. The Devil is perched above and behind a chained man and woman. This represents bondage to baser urges or material things, an absence of things of a spiritual nature. It may also indicate the presence of malevolence or black magic. In the reverse, it indicates the beginning of the development of a spiritual nature, a broadening of awareness. The Tower is a flame struck by lightning. Two figures fall from its heights. The representation is of a catastrophic change in an established way of life. But the result might just be positive if the surrounding cards are favorable. Reversed, the Tower indicates imprisonment by the status quo. The Star shines above a woman who pours nourishing water from two pitchers onto the ground and into a pool. This represents hope, inspiration, and positive influences. In the reverse, pessimism and doubt are indicated. The Moon shines down on a wolf and a howling dog. It represents the activity of the imagination, dreams, and intuition. It may signal unseen dangers for the subject or a loved one. The reverse position indicates that practicality will prevail, that problems will be overcome. The Sun radiates warmth and light down onto a carefree child riding a white horse. It represents happiness, bliss, a pleasurable, fulfilling life free of complications. In the reverse, it indicates a snag in the subject's plans for the future. Judgment is depicted by the angel Gabriel blowing his horn and the dead rising from their graves. It represents an insight, a dramatic awakening of consciousness. Reversed, it indicates problems in old age, unhappiness, fear, possibly poor health and poverty. The World card pictures a dancer surrounded by a wreath and the four animals of the apocalypse. It represents completeness, fulfillment, success. It can also represent travel. In the reverse position, it indicates a stubborn resistance to change, a refusal to learn from the past.
So those are the highlights of the tarot, cards of mystery. There are a lot of symbolic representations that we just skimmed over, and I'll cover some of them later, but we certainly have enough to get started with.
No kidding. Do you have any hints on how to memorize all that?
Sure.
A really good way is to study them in pairs and compare their meanings. And after you've studied them for a while, stop and write down all that you know about each card. You'll be surprised at what you remember.
Another great way is to play back the section of this videotape where we describe the cards and pause the tape to see what you remember about each one before you play the description. But you don't have to memorize it all before you can start doing readings.
If you make a little grid like this with a few key words, you can use it for reference as you learn the cards while you go along.
Great, but that doesn't mean we're ready to do a reading yet, does it? First, you better show us how to do a layout.
Good idea. There are actually a lot of different layouts, but the one I'd like to show you is one of the easiest for a beginner to use to get a meaningful reading. It's called the Ancient Celtic Method, and it involves using only 11 cards, one representing the subject, and 10 others laid out in a cross and a column. The first card is called the Significator, and you select it from the deck before you shuffle. This card represents the subject of the reading, so select a court card from the minor arcana to match him or her.
Use a king for a mature man or a knight for a young one, a queen for a woman, and a page for either a boy or a girl. You can pick the suit to match the subject's coloring, a wand for a blue-eyed blonde, a cup for light brown hair with hazel eyes, a sword for darker brown hair and brown eyes, or a pentacle for black hair and dark eyes.
But I usually prefer to go more by their personality type.
Wands for stable and solid types, cups for intellectual or emotional ones, swords for physical or active people, and pentacles for prosperous or materialistic subjects.
Place the Significator card face up in front of you in the center of where you will form your cross.
Okay.
By the way, all the cards in a layout are read from the reader's point of view, not the subject's. At this point, the deck can be shuffled.
Okay, so who does the shuffling, you or the subject?
Well, there are two schools of thought on that. Some people say that to get a true reading, the subject should shuffle the cards, so that it is their influence that determines the final order. But other people say it should be the reader, since it is the reader who's in tune with the cards, and the agent for the subject. Either way, the subject should be concentrating on the specific question to be asked, or meditating if it's going to be a general reading.
Should the subject tell you the question she's asking?
Well, that's debatable too. Some say yes, some say no. We'll get into that a little bit later, after we've covered the mechanics of the layout.
Okay. Is there any particular right way to shuffle?
Well, actually there is. Remember how there was a different significance to the card, whether it was right side up or reversed?
Oh, yes.
Well, when you're shuffling, you have to give the cards the opportunity to change their orientation. The most common way is to rotate the top half of the deck each time you shuffle, like this.
I see. So each time we shuffle, about half the cards are being reversed.
That's right.
Okay, here's another question. How many times should you shuffle the deck?
Well, that's a good question. And again, there are conflicting answers. I just like to keep shuffling until the deck feels right. This is an intuitive process, remember, not a mechanical one. So the more you can rely on your instincts, the better you're going to be able to read.
Once the deck is shuffled, set it down and have the subject use her left hand to cut it into 3 separate stacks from her right to left.
Then pick up the 3 piles with your left hand, moving from your own right to left. Keep the deck in your left hand. The next 10 cards are laid out slowly and methodically, so that you can absorb their meaning as the layout progresses.
Place the first card face up to cover the significator, announcing, "This covers her." This card represents the environment of the question and the forces currently at work.
I have one more question, Pamela. I've seen other people turn their cards so the bottom becomes the top, but you turn your cards up sideways. Why is that?
Well, that's another good question. And there's really no set answer. This is just the way I turn my cards up naturally.
Oh.
Remember, as the reader, you are the interpreter, and whatever forces are working to arrange the cards are doing so through you. So whichever way you turn them up is not so important as to do it the same way every time.
So you should work out your own pattern and stick to it?
Right. Do it your own way, but do it the same consistently.
Okay.
The second card goes crosswise, with the top to the left as it came off the deck. There is a statement to be made for each card, and this one is, "This crosses her."
By the way, you should always use the third person pronoun, him or her, and not you or the subject's name.
Oh, why is that?
Well, in doing a tarot layout, you're creating a kind of capsulized representation of the subject's situation with pictorial symbols, so you can view it from a distance. It's a lot easier to analyze if you refer to the subject symbolically rather than directly. What you are reading is the state of influences as they are now, and the situations and events that are likely to happen unless the subject does something to change things. And sometimes the reading will show something that will only happen if the subject does something about it. But if you make direct references to the subject, they have a tendency to think more in terms of foregone conclusions, things that will happen, no matter what they do.
Oh, so it's a lot easier for the subject to digest the information if she can see it all somewhat in the abstract, as if it were all happening to someone else.
Exactly. That way they analyze first and react to it later.
Okay.
Back to the layout.
The crossing card represents the forces at work in opposition to the subject's desires. But they might actually turn out to be in the subject's best interest, so they aren't always negative, just in opposition. The third card is placed above the significator with the statement that this crowns her. It represents a force that may come into play, a possible event, situation, or influence. It can also represent the limit, the best that the subject can hope for. The fourth card is placed directly underneath the significator with the statement, "This is beneath her." This card represents a previous situation or event that either created or is very significant in the current situation in question. The fifth card goes on the opposite side of the way the significator is facing. If there isn't any predominant direction, use the left side. The statement is, "This is behind her." It indicates a force that is currently ended or is just ending its influence. The sixth card goes to the other side of the significator, completing the cross, with the statement, "This is before her." It indicates a coming event or an influence that will be in force in the near future. The next four cards are placed in a column to the right of the cross. The seventh card goes at the bottom with the statement, "These are the fears." It represents the fears or worries the subject has that will affect the question, either specifically related to it or just general concerns. The eighth card goes above the last one with the statement, "These are the opinions of others." It represents what the subject's family and friends think about the issue, positive or negative. The ninth card goes directly above with the statement, "These are the hopes." It can show either what the subject hopes for in the situation or what is influencing her hopes and desires. The 10th card goes at the top of the column with the statement, "This is the outcome." It represents what the final result is likely to be. And if it turns out to be a court card, a king, queen, knight, or page, it indicates that the final result will be determined to a large extent by another person. When the layout is concluded, you should go back and review all the cards before you summarize the situation as you see it. If there are a lot of cards from one suit in the layout, that's an indication of where the key forces are. If there are a lot of cards from the major arcana, it means that the forces at play are very strong. If there are a lot of court cards, there are a lot of people directly involved. After you've picked up all the obvious clues, just sit quietly and absorb what you see for a while. And let a composite picture gradually form in your mind. Don't be in too big of a hurry. Usually there are some important, subtle points that take a while to come through.
Okay. Now, why don't you tell us how to set up for a reading, and then we can actually go through a sample one. All right?
Great. The first thing, of course, is preparation. To do a really important reading, some readers prepare for days in advance, fasting and meditating. But even as a beginner, during a casual reading, it's important to get into the right frame of mind. Start by finding a nice, quiet place where you won't be disturbed and where there's enough room to lay out the cards. An ideal setup is a medium-sized table and 2 chairs facing each other, like this.
What about the lighting?
Well, whatever works for you. And your subject. She's part of the process too, you know. And you've got to help her get into the right frame of mind, as well as yourself. Usually soft lighting goes a long way, and I like to use candlelight whenever possible. If you can arrange it so that the rest of the room is dark, or at least darkened, and there's enough light that you can still read the cards, you'll find it's a lot easier for both you and your subject to concentrate on the reading.
And it also makes it all feel special, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. Your subject may well be a little nervous. After all, you are talking about her personal life, and you should do your best to make her feel comfortable. If you yourself are calm and sure, and speak in a clear but soft voice, you can help to make a nice, friendly atmosphere. For the time you're doing the reading, the 2 of you will be alone together in your own private world, suspended and removed from all other considerations.
But that doesn't mean you have to be deadly serious, does it?
Oh no, of course not. Otherwise, the whole thing would be way too ominous. A reading should be an enjoyable experience for both of you. And if you go into it with that frame of mind, the good feelings will flow over to your subject.
Okay. We're in a nice, quiet area with atmospheric lighting, and we're relaxed but eager. Anything else? How about music or incense?
Well, okay, they're both options. But be careful of the music. It should be way down in the background, and not so intrusive that it interferes with what you're doing. There are some good meditation tapes available that seem to work pretty well. They're relaxing to the body while they're stimulating to the mind without loading in any emotional overtones. But you have to consider your subject. Some people are put off by what they consider weird music, and the same goes for incense. For myself, I prefer a very mild fragrance like vanilla. But unless I'm sure they won't get in the way, I don't use either music or incense at a reading.
Oh, good point. Okay, why don't you do a sample reading using me as a subject?
Sure.
But remember, this is just a demonstration reading, not a real one. I don't want to give away all my personal secrets to everyone.
Agreed. If anything too personal comes up, I'll just skip over it. Actually, I doubt any of this will have any reference to you at all. To get a true reading takes some concentration and effort, and since that's not our goal, that's not likely to happen.
Good. Makes me feel a lot safer.
Good. Well, then I guess we're ready to start. I've already selected a significator card for you. The Empress.
Oh, well, why the Empress?
Well, it does help that I know you pretty well. And the Empress is a perfect fit for you.
She's a bright, active person, in tune with nature, with enough imagination to have creative dreams and enough practicality and energy to bring them into being.
Wow, I'm flattered.
And I'm grateful. This is my favorite significator card. It's from the Major Arcana and should only be used to represent someone who's very dynamic.
Oh, well, thank you, ma'am. So what's next? The shuffle?
Yes, but even before the shuffle, a little cheerful small talk to help put your subject at ease. It can be about anything, and the more she talks, the better. I usually ask her how long she's been living here and take it from there. How she answers, openly or guardedly, can give you as much information as what she actually says. When you feel she's getting relaxed, ask her to concentrate on her question while you shuffle the cards. Ready?
Sure, let's do it.
Just cut the cards with your left hand, making 3 stacks from left to right.
Like that?
Just right. Now I picked them up in the reverse order, and we're ready to start.
Well, do you want to know the question?
Actually, no, not yet. I like to go through the layout as a general reading first, just to get a feel for what's going on. Okay, the first card.
This covers her. That Ace of Wands. This looks like the beginning of something. Probably a creative enterprise of some sort. And this crosses her. The forces in opposition. The reversed Four of Pentacles. There may be a shortage of money.
So what's new?
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of that going around lately. I don't think I've had anyone tell me they have too much money.
The third card. This crowns her. The Page of Pentacles. There might be some good news about your project.
Well, that would be welcome.
The fourth card. The Foundation. The basis for what's going on now. This is beneath her. The Three of Wands. Looks like someone who is successful at what he does helped you get started in this. The fifth card. This is behind her. The Knight of Wands, reversed. This says that you just completed a move of some kind and that it was pretty disruptive for a while. But now things are getting back to normal.
Well, sort of. Whatever normal is.
This is before her. The Three of Pentacles. Looks like you are in for some hard work, but you will be admired for it. Now we start the column. These are her fears. The Two of Pentacles, reversed. This would indicate some concern about juggling some conflicting forces. Maybe you're trying to do too many things at once. The opinion of others. The Star, great. The people around you are encouraging, positive. They wish you well and expect great things for you. Her hopes. The Queen of Cups. You seem to think that this new project will bring a good, long-lasting relationship and a strong inner vision. You expect to be a better person for the experience. And the last card, the outcome. The King of Cups. You may get more than you bargained for. This is a kind, generous, creative person who is fond of or admires you. And since it's next to the Queen of Cups, it might well mean romance, or at least a good mutual relationship.
Now that the layout is complete, here's where I'd like to ask what the question is.
Well, I was thinking about a new project, but then I always am, aren't I? And I was wondering what it would lead to.
Okay.
So now we look back at the overall spread for general indications and specific applications to the question. There are a lot of people cards, so there are some personalities at work here. There are Wands and Pentacles, which indicate a change in the business side of your life, tying in with what we saw with the Ace of Wands here. Generally, this layout suggests that while there might be some initial money problems, the project will get completed with the strong, positive efforts of some new associates. The project itself looks successful, but there might just be some additional benefits. I'd say we definitely ought to take a further look at the King of Cups here and see if we can find out some more.
Yeah, see if you can get his phone number, okay?
Well, if this Queen of Cups represents you, like I think it does, you may already know it. But that's one of the things that we're hoping to find out. If this is someone you already know or someone you haven't met yet.
Well, how will we know?
Well, if a Knight of Swords shows up, he's a pretty clear signal that someone new is going to enter your life with a bang. But this Queen of Cups indicates some hidden feelings within yourself. I've got a feeling it's going to turn out to be someone you already know and like, maybe more than you realize.
How deliciously intriguing. So how do we find out?
Simple. We just use this King of Cups as our significator and do a new layout around it.
Oh, so do we reshuffle the cards?
No, we still have plenty left, so we'll just continue on from here. We'll just put aside the ones we've already used. Usually, the second layout is just a more detailed information about the outcome.
But since this time it happens to be a court card, we should also learn something about the person.
Oh, good.
This covers it. The Chariot. We're getting a pretty strong indication of an artistic or creative success, despite some problems. And the Chariot is a pretty complex card, so maybe some of the others will draw out some more meaning from it. This crosses it. The Eight of Swords. There is some confining situation here, possibly with a female involved.
Oh no, he's married.
Well, maybe. But I don't think so. It just feels like some other kind of restriction. Let's go on.
This crowns it. Judgment. Somebody is going to get a sudden insight, discover a whole new way of life, and that might well affect the outcome. This is the foundation. The Magician. Aha! Somebody very capable who has learned to apply theoretical knowledge to practical applications is the prime mover in the project. He, or it might even be a she, probably has some experience with the occult arts. This is behind it. The Seven of Cups. There was a time of speculative dreaming, energies not focused, fantasies indulged. This is in front of it. The Page of Cups. The project, or maybe the situation produced by the outcome, will create a new process, a new way of doing things. And there's still more indication of creativity. The Fears. Aha! The Hierophant. Somebody is too concerned about the opinion of others, of social conformity. The Opinions. The Queen of Swords. There's some prudishness here, some very narrow thinking. The Hopes. The Lovers. Not necessarily romantic love, but it could be. This also represents options, the freedom and ability to choose. And the outcome.
In this layout, the outcome of the outcome. A long-range picture. Ready?
The Six of Pentacles. Oh, good. This is a signal of generosity based on success. There's a sharing of good things here. It's one of my favorite cards. Well, is there a picture forming here? An overall message for you?
Yes, and a good one. A new exciting project, some appreciable material success. But the major reward is the new association with some creative people, and one in particular.
Yeah, he looks like somebody you already know, but haven't known for long yet. But the relationship will be a good one. Maybe just unconventional or different from what you've had.
Too bad this isn't a real reading for me. I like what I see.
Well, maybe the cards are trying to tell us something without our even trying. You never know.
Well, thank you for showing us how to go about reading the tarot cards. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes. I just kind of breezed through this reading here, saying the first thing that came to mind. And that's okay for a first consideration while you're laying out the cards. But when the layout is completed, you really should sit back and think about them for a while. And don't be too literal in your interpretation. Just let a general feeling about the situation develop, and trust your instincts. The individual cards are somewhat limited as to what they can convey, but your subconscious is pretty good at putting it all together, if you let it.
And I have a suggestion of my own. The reading of the tarot cards is intriguing, and even a little mysterious. But don't take it too seriously, especially when you're first learning to read the cards. Just relax and enjoy it. You'll get better at it as you go along, but you can stimulate your thinking and learn from the tarot right from the first time you try it. Right, Pamela?
Absolutely. And of course, we haven't been able to completely cover all the symbolism of the cards. But that would take a mini-series at least.
Good idea. But in the meantime, you've got plenty enough here to get you started. So go get yourself a deck of tarot cards and try a few readings with your friends. You just might learn something. Have fun.
Bye.
So tell me a little more about this King of Cups guy. I think I might know who he is. There are lots of good books available on the pictorial symbolism in the tarot cards, and wherever there is an opportunity for interpretation. there will be different points of view. But these are some of the more commonly agreed on representations found recurring in the tarot cards.
Water is symbolic of the subconscious. When it's flowing, it's in the active state. A large body of water represents the collective unconscious.
Mountains represent intellectual thought, clear, logical, free of emotional content.
The flowers, vines, and leaves represent the earthly pleasures, beauty, and the sensual appreciation of nature. All except the lily, which represents pure unemotional thought.
The bridled horse represents the harnessing of our physical and emotional desires, not the elimination of them, just keeping them under control.
The drops of water, the little tongues of flame, and the loose leaves on the Ace of Wands signify the presence of spiritual force and its utilization in the material world.
There are many more, of course, but then that's part of the beauty of the tarot. There's always a little more there for you to learn. Enjoy the mystery. Here are some other ancient arts you might want to explore.
Witchcraft, the stuff of myths and legends and Hollywood movies. From Shakespeare to Salem, there have been a lot of rumors and romanticized depictions of the practice of witchcraft. But have you ever wondered what it would be like to do a little witchcraft yourself? In Basic Witchcraft, we'll give you an overview of some of the basic fundamentals of witchcraft. How to prepare yourself and your implements, how to make your own witching stone, some popular and useful rituals and spells, how to make your own charms and potions. We can't show you everything, of course. Learning witchcraft is a lifetime process, but we'll certainly give you enough to get you started. On Basic Witchcraft, in the Ancient Art series from the video group.
If you'd like to explore more of the Ancient Art series, like Basic Witchcraft or reading Chinese horoscopes, please contact your video dealer or call the video group.